Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session, Build Asset Tracking Solutions using AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN. My name is Sunita Aishwaraya. I'm a solutions architect at Amazon Web Services based in Stockholm, Sweden. Let's look at the agenda. I'm going to talk about what AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN is, followed by IoT Core device location, because the session is about how to build asset tracking solutions, followed by a customer story, and then I'm going to do a live demo at the end. So what is AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN? AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN is a fully managed LoRaWAN network server, which is backed by AWS infrastructure. So in order to have a connection between connecting the gateways to LoRaWAN network server. And AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN is a serverless. I'll talk about what serverless is in a minute. So let's look at how you make the connection between the devices and AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN, the LoRaWAN network server. So you have the LoRaWAN gateways, and then you have AWS infrastructure. So when I mention about AWS infrastructure, it's basically the data centers that we have globally all across different regions. When I mention a region, it's a location. So we have a region in North America, for example, Virginia, Oregon, California, coming to Europe, Ireland, London, Frankfurt, and in APAC, Singapore, Mumbai, Japan. These are just a few that I mentioned, but we have many number of regions throughout the world. So AWS has a global footprint. So AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN is the network server, as I mentioned. So you connect the LoRaWAN gateways to IoT Core for LoRaWAN through mutual authentication X509 certificates. That's an end-to-end secured connection. So now that we have the LoRaWAN gateways connected to AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN, when you have a LoRaWAN network server, think about it. You have to spin up clusters, spin up servers, install the softwares, maintain the high availability. You have to make sure it is fault tolerance. As AWS, we advise customers to focus on building the business logic, solving your customer needs, instead of sitting and maintaining this management overhead. So that's one I wanted to talk about the serverless feature, because you don't have to take care of this server management capabilities, because AWS will be taking care of spinning up different number of nodes, maintaining the high availability, making sure it's fault tolerance, and always it's up and running without any downtime. So how do you connect the LoRaWAN devices now? So now that I mentioned about how you connect the LoRaWAN gateways to the network server, because we have the gateway provisioning management capability in the IoT Core for LoRaWAN service, and in order to connect your LoRaWAN devices, then you go through the joint procedure through the LoRaWAN protocol. So this is, again, is part of AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN service. So now that we have connected the gateways, devices, and once you have the data in, now you're going to build your business application based on your customer needs. Let's say, for example, you want to monitor water leakage in your smart city, or you want to monitor the temperature in the smart buildings, right? So here you build the backend application. And another advantage of using serverless services is, in general, using cloud services, you pay, it works on pay-as-you-go model. You don't pay any upfront cost. It doesn't work as a CapEx model. You only pay for the amount of resources that you use. So here, in this case, the amount of data that is getting ingested to IoT Core for LoRaWAN, that's what you pay for. Now I'm going to talk about asset tracking solutions. So before I jump into asset tracking solutions, I still want to go back to this previous slide to get you, just get a high-level understanding how the data flow works, right? It comes from the LoRaWAN devices, and the gateways basically forwards the packets. And then you have the data in IoT Core for LoRaWAN now. But now I want to get the location of the device, right? Many times, customers are not happy writing a custom code. I don't want to build another set of functions or any custom code for this. If it's like a out-of-box solutions, that's much more convenient, right? So we have this IoT Core device location feature embedded as part of IoT Core for LoRaWAN, which works out of box. So there are some devices which has this capability, which works closely with the IoT Core device location. So you don't have to write any decoder. You don't have to write any custom functions for it. When I mention decoder, as you know, any data that's coming from the LoRaWAN devices are encoded to make sure end-to-end security is in place. So here, IoT Core device location, it solves the location data using GNSS solver, Wi-Fi solver, cellular solver, and IP geolocation. But for the LoRaWAN devices, it's mainly GNSS solver and Wi-Fi solver. I'm going to show you in a demo how this works. This is the entire end-to-end architecture. Like, if you want to build an end-to-end solution for asset tracking solution, it's the same flow again from connecting your devices, gateway to IoT Core for LoRaWAN. And then in the middle, you see IoT Core device location. It's basically enabling the feature. You don't have to write any code, any piece of code here. And then once you have the location details, when I mention location details, it's basically latitude and longitude. So once you have the latitude and longitude, all you have to do is just how you're going to put it in a map, right, based on your business application need. Just want to touch upon some of the use cases where these asset tracking solutions are used. Starting from smart agriculture, I think we have been hearing smart agriculture use cases since yesterday in many of our sessions. Logistics, supply chain, let's say if I want to track my package, right? Smart cities, as I mentioned before, like maybe I want to monitor water leakage or temperature in the smart buildings. Asset management in the manufacturing areas, or in the industries or big factories. Quickly want to touch upon a customer reference story here. So this is a Japanese customer, SMK and Ryoden. They found a challenge initially to get the location data using the cellular connection. And they found how much the battery drains out with that. So in order to solve that challenge, they started looking at LoRaWAN capabilities. So they built this edge device, which basically communicates to AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN. Because the main reason why they wanted to use our LoRaWAN network service is because they don't want to take this overhead of managing the clusters and maintaining this high availability and fault tolerance. So they got some benefits out of this because, as everyone knows, it's using LoRaWAN devices. You don't have, it doesn't consume a lot of power, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick demo, but before that, I want to show what are the devices that I'm going to use. Today's devices are sponsored by Tectelic. Thank you very much, Roman. Roman is here. So I have this gateway. It's battery powered, and it's already connected to AWS IoT Core for LoRaWAN. It's actually live. It's real time. It's still blinking, so it's healthy. And this is the Stork. This LoRaWAN asset tracker backed by Semtech LoRa LRE11 chip. So this is also sending the payloads, but I'm going to show you in the screen. And there's one more device. It's called Chickadee. This actually lasts for 5 years. So this is also another, I think it's more like, wearing a tag. Yeah. But for the live demo, I'm using this one. All right, so this is the AWS account. And as I mentioned, AWS has global footprint, right? So these are some of the regions. These are in North America, and then these are in Europe. And I have specifically chose Tokyo today because we are in Tokyo. So I'm going to open IoT Core. So on the left, the LPWAN devices, we have this wireless section here. And I'll go to the gateways. So I do have few gateways. The first one, it's the gateway back in my home in Stockholm. But the gateway that's right in front of you is this one. If you look at the, should I zoom in my screen? Zoom it a little bit. Okay. So if you look at this, it's the real-time data coming in. Look at the timestamp. It's just 1 minute ago, and it sends every minute. And the connection status is connected. It's healthy. And this device is using the frequency band of APAC, AS923, which includes Japan. And I want to touch upon this because, as I mentioned, serverless, right? I didn't log into any servers, or I didn't log into any of the application or, having any softwares or anything. All I have is this endpoint. So this is the AWS IoT Core LoRaWAN endpoint. So this is about the gateway. So it's connected, it looks good. Now let's go to the devices. Maybe I'll take the device with me. It doesn't have to be this close, right? Because it's LoRaWAN, it's long range. So these are some of the devices that I have, but this one, let's look at this. And this is, again, the frequency band of APAC, AS923. I can show you here. I've configured it with AS923, which includes Japan. And how I'm saying that this is the live data, because look at the last uplink. It's the current timestamp. I will show you how the data looks like, because that's a bit more interesting. So this is the payload that's coming from this Torque device, and the gateway is basically forwarding the package to the LoRaWAN network server in AWS. The interesting thing here that I want to highlight is the payload data. Look at the size of the payload data. It's just a small packet. That's the beauty about using the LoRaWAN, right? Because you're not going to consume a lot of battery with this if you're going to send this small, tiny amount of data. And these are the other metadata, like which class it uses, which F port, and here's the timestamp. So this is the raw payload that's coming from the device, but this doesn't have the latitude, longitude yet, because the payload has to be decoded. As I mentioned, it is end-to-end secure, encrypted, right? And it has to be decoded. I haven't written any custom code. I haven't written any decoder or anything. But I have enabled a device location feature in the device. I can show you how it, here. So I have enabled this device location feature. So what it gives, it's basically this latitude and longitude. So now that payload that I showed, it's decoded and it's solved using GNSS solver or Wi-Fi solver, and I got this latitude and longitude. So now with the latitude and longitude, you'll be able to place it in a map. We do have a small sample map as well. So let's look at it. Here you go. Let's see if we are in Tokyo. Yep. Let me zoom in. I think we are in Shinjuku. We are in Hilton. So it's live data. That's good. All right. Okay. So that's pretty much about the demo. I just want to quickly highlight on our AWS partner device catalog, because we work with many partners, the device makers. Some of the partners are here today, and including Tektelic. So if you want to have your devices to be listed in AWS device catalog, you have to go through a device qualification program. What's the benefit out of this as a customer for you? As I mentioned, AWS has millions of customers. So your devices is getting exposed to a plethora of customers in the market. And for the customers, they will benefit from your device for building their solutions and solving their customer needs. With that, before I wrap it up, I would like to share this quote. Let me first read it. When wireless is fully applied, the Earth will be converted into a huge brain capable of response in every one of its parts. The reason why I wanted to share this is to emphasize on how much the wireless technologies have evolved, in particular the LoRaWAN, because we have been hearing so many LoRaWAN use cases since yesterday. So looking at the adoption rate that LoRaWAN have got. With that, I would like to thank for attending the session. And I'm going to be here for answering any questions on AWS. And we also have Tektalik. Roman and his team is here if you have any questions on the devices. Yeah, so thank you very much for joining the session.